Can you feel the love tonight? ScreenRant can. Join us as we take a platonic stroll into the jungle, the mighty jungle, where the lion sleeps, eats, drinks, and sings his way into our hearts. That's because we're celebrating Disney's live-action remake of The Lion King. And while Simba just can't wait to be king of the box office, we just can't wait to go through these 25 things you may have missed in the star-studded story of the Circle of Life. First things first, everything in the film is fake. According to director Jon Favreau, quote, "We knew we had to make it feel like a live-action film as much as possible, but there's nothing real in the movie. There's nothing but pixels." End quote. Yep, straight from the director's mouth to our ears, the whole film is entirely computer-generated effects. That is, except for one single shot. According to Favreau, only one of the approximately 1,400 shots of the film is real. In an interview with Good Morning America's Robin Roberts, Jon Favreau confirmed that the real-world shot is a visual of Africa. Special effects have come a long way in the past several decades. We all remember Mufasa's tragic demise in the original Lion King. And much as it happens in the animated film and in the Broadway spectacular, Mufasa meets a similar end in the 2019 live-action film. That said, while he falls into a stampede in a traumatic event orchestrated by Scar, the happenstances of this particular event isn't an exact replica of what happens in the cartoon. In the latest film, the features of the cliff face that Mufasa climbs is slightly different, and it's more difficult for Simba's dad to scale the side of the rocks. Once he reaches the top of the cliff, Scar doesn't dig his claws into Mufasa's paws as he does in the 1994 film. In the live-action movie, Scar hits Mufasa in the face, and the soon-to-be former king falls. The original Lion King soundtrack by Elton John and Tim Rice was full of hits that kept Disney fans humming as they left the theaters. That said, the filmmakers for the live-action Lion King chose to make some updates to the songs to keep things fresh and keep audiences on their toes. Among the musical changes, lyrics were added to Hakuna Matata. In the original version of the film, Pumbaa is stopped by Timon before he can pass gas during the line after the one that ends with the word downhearted.
Every time that Hey, Pumbaa, not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
In the newer movie, Pumbaa finishes this verse by actually passing gas. We guess Disney believed their core audience is a bit more mature than they used to be, or less mature, depending on your point of view. James Earl Jones is known for his on-screen presence with his booming, deep bass voice. The man can stop you with just a word. So it makes sense that he often serves as a voice actor in some of our favorite films. In fact, his prior performances were so iconic that he's lately been found reprising his former roles. He had a memorable scene in the fan-favorite finale of Rogue One, returning as Darth Vader, and he makes his grand return in the live-action Lion King as Mufasa, the only original voice actor from the animated film to reprise his role. Director Jon Favreau felt the famed actor could not be replaced, and we're just happy to see him so busy in his golden years. James Earl Jones is also slated to return in the long-awaited Eddie Murphy sequel Coming to America. In addition to the Hakuna Matata adjustment, another musical update includes the addition of the song He Lives in You. Many fans in the movie theaters who grew up with the soundtrack to the animated film but were not theaterphiles probably thought this was a wholly original song. However, He Lives in You made its debut in the highly popular, long-running Broadway adaptation of The Lion King, directed by Julie Taymor, the famed stage luminary. Although He Lives in You didn't make it into the original animated film, it did get some time to shine when it was featured in Disney's straight-to-video release, The Lion King 2. Simba is a kind and just ruler who spent many years in exile and learned what it was like to live a simpler life. He's quite possibly developed into a more well-rounded leader than his revered father. This might contribute to the animal kingdom's total reverence of Simba and his family. They're more than just jungle royalty. They're an important part of the circle of life that we hear them singing so much about. Yet that doesn't mean the cognizant animals in this jungle live in a total fantasy world. Lions still seem to be considered dangerous predators, and they inspire fear in animals lower on the food chain.
She's gonna eat me! Huh?
Simba's apparent kindness doesn't change the fact that an antelope who crosses his path isn't easily convinced of the future Lion King's easygoing nature. A relationship that is retained from the original animated film on through the live-action version is the interplay between Scar and Zazu. That said, they appear to have a bit of a different dynamic. Not only does Zazu get new jokes to fit the voice actor, John Oliver's sensibilities, his whole interaction with Scar around the stampede sequence gets an upgrade. In the animated film, Zazu sees the stampede and begins to fly off for assistance before Scar takes him out of commission. In the live-action picture, Scar simply suggests that Zazu go find others in the pride to give Mufasa a hand. This way, Zazu leaves the scene none the wiser about Scar's twisted plans. Of all the hyenas, Shenzi, the self-serious leader of the pack, has a more expanded role. It fits her portrayal in the stage show, where the head hyena was given a more dynamic and threatening personality to make the hyenas seem a bit less like comic relief and more like the imposing henchpeople we would expect Scar to associate himself with. Originally voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, this updated version of the character plays her lines straight, coldly plans Simba's demise, and serves as a primary antagonist to Nala's story arc. Nala grows more as a character in the live-action version, thanks to her experiences as a younger cub, when she faced Shenzi in the elephant graveyard. Later, Nala gets a climactic moment of her own when she gets to nudge Shenzi off a precipice. With the increased running time of the live-action film, more attention is given to the supporting cast. Interestingly, Mufasa's widow is given more to do, as in the arc where Scar tries to marry her. One may think that perhaps Scar had an attraction to Sarabi, and that fueled his desire to overthrow Mufasa, but it seems that Scar just always envied his brother, and intended to consolidate his power over the pride by claiming Sarabi as his queen. In the original film, a sequence featuring Scar courting Nala was abandoned from the final cut of the movie, but it may have served as inspiration for this Scar and Sarabi's dynamic in this newer version. Another personality change for a character in the live-action film revolves around Rafiki. The baboon was a standout in the original animated version, and his colorful personality provided entertainment as he led Simba on a journey of self-realization in the live-action version. The filmmakers chose to throw away Rafiki's wilder side, crafting a character who was a bit more solemn and respectable, someone who seemed to fit in better with the seriousness of Mufasa's court. This treatment is similar to how the character is presented in the Broadway show. In the live-action film, actor John Caney, also known as T'Chaka in Black Panther, adds the gravitas to Rafiki that the creative team wanted. This contrasted the equally memorable performance of noted comedic actor Robert Guillaume as Rafiki in 1994. When Lion King was released in 1994, it was a memorable year for movies. There was Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, and a little movie that won the Oscar for Best Picture, Forrest Gump. Well, much like the award-winning Tom Hanks movie, both The Lion King and Forrest Gump featured sequences of floating tufts that traveled from one scene to another, serving as a transition between time and space. In the live-action version, the fur gets eaten by a giraffe, taken by a dung beetle, and found by other insects before ending up with the baboon shaman. While much of the film references the animated precursor that came before it, there's another cartoon film from Disney's Renaissance that gets a shout out in this live-action adaptation. When Timon and Pumbaa are tasked with distracting the hyenas in the animated film, Timon dons a hula dress and sings a song to throw the enemies off. Instead, in the 2019 film, the creative team decided to reference Beauty and the Beast at this particular moment in the movie. Timon is merely able to sing the first line of "Be our guest, be our guest," before their plan falls apart and the hyenas pounce. In The Lion King, the lions aren't the only royalty in this motion picture. Beyoncé brings a level of clout that the film otherwise wouldn't have, and gives Nala a dignified air that another actress might not possess. With her star power added to the film, the creative team behind 2019's Lion King gave Beyoncé a new song to sing. In Spirit, the song features Queen Bee's chords underscoring Simba and Nala's crossing of the desert. It plays prominently following Simba's decision to return to Pride Rock and reclaim his rightful place on the throne. We've mentioned the addition of the Broadway song He Lives in You, the added moment to Hakuna Matata, and the appearance of the entirely new tune Spirit. But did you notice the changes apparent in Be Prepared? The classic song from Scar, Be Prepared, gets updated to better fit Scar voice actor Chiwetel Ejiofor's pipes. Treated more like a patter-splash spoken word performance, he outlines his plans in a way that better fits Scar's personality in the new film. Early on in the production process, rumors spread that the new movie would ditch the song altogether, but it's important to Scar's development, or rather, the audience's perception of his character. So we're thankful they decided to keep a version of it in the latest film, albeit one that's undergone a significant amount of changes. Speaking of villains, let's get back to Scar's right-hand woman, Shenzi. We all know that Disney owns the world, and with Marvel Studios under their ever-controlling creative enterprise, it should be no surprise that the Disney live-action remakes have a decent amount in common with their MCU counterparts. While Rafiki actor John Canny hails from Black Panther, Shenzi also shares a strong MCU connection. The lead hyena is portrayed by Florence Kasumba, who plays Ayo in Black Panther. Ayo is a tough member of the Wakandan Guard, known as the Dora Milaje, and her intensity in Black Panther is only intensified by the more antagonistic Shenzi. We'd love to see Kasumba play more parts in whatever franchise we can, but based on her fate in The Lion King, we expect her to face more action in the future of the MCU. So much talk about The Lion King, and we haven't even gotten to Donald Glover yet. He had a star turn in Community and spent time on the writing staff for 30 Rock while developing his career as a rapper, Childish Gambino. His success was only amplified with the show Atlanta, but his biggest influence on his portrayal of Simba may have been personal. In 2018, Glover's father passed away, and it was obviously a huge personal blow for the star. At that point, the actor had already recorded lines for Simba, but following his father's passing, Glover felt that he had a better understanding of Simba's arc. He reached out to director Jon Favreau and re-recorded the lines so they would, in his mind, more appropriately fit Simba's situation after the lion lost his own father, Mufasa. When you think of Beyoncé, you might think of the massive amount of confidence that she constantly exudes. That's part of what makes her such an iconic star. Now that said, even Queen Bee was nervous to meet the British royals. At the European premiere of The Lion King, the cast was assembled to meet the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, none other than Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Cast member Billy Eichner revealed that even Beyoncé was a bit stressed over the royal meeting on the red carpet. On the opposite end of the British social structure stands John Oliver. While the actor is hugely popular in the States and is well known across the pond, he didn't initially get his big break in his home country. As a stand-up comedian, he probably likes it that way, so he can play the underdog when commenting on the day's news on his show Last Week Tonight. That said, there has to have been a lot of self-awareness in casting Oliver as Zazu. While John Oliver is always providing biting satire of current events, he gets to provide his own take on the events of the jungle in The Lion King when he delivers his morning report to the royal lions ruling over the Serengeti.
Checking in
with the morning report. Fire away.
The comedic stylings of Timon and Pumbaa were also influenced by the actors who played them. Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen gave the meerkat and the warthog a new and modern spin that rivals the portrayals of original voice actors Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella. In the latest film, Eichner and Rogen have more unique deliveries and sensibilities that seem intended to appeal to the modern audience. Not only do they break the fourth wall, making it seem like they're aware they're in a movie being watched by an audience, they also really heavily embrace the values of Hakuna Matata.
It's our motto.
What's the motto?
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
In their new take on the classic song, they get incredibly nihilistic with it, expressing to the audience that having no worries for the rest of your days means embracing the idea that life has no meaning. As for John Oliver's version of The Morning Report, this wasn't just written for the actor. It was actually a song crafted for the original 1994 movie, then cut at the last minute. We know Rowan Atkinson, who voiced Zazu in the animated version, would have nailed it in the 1994 movie. He famously appeared in the classic British sitcom Blackadder and portrayed Mr. Bean. So, of course, his comedic stylings would have been perfect for this song, but alas, it was not to be. The Morning Report was almost recycled from the Broadway musical, but it was cut out of that at the last minute as well. So the song has become a unique number that John Oliver gets to call his own. With all the new songs like Spirit and The Morning Report, and with the additions like He Lives in You, with updates to Be Prepared and Hakuna Matata, and original character development provided for Nala, Shenzi, Sarabi, and others, this film has a much longer runtime. Animated films tend to run shorter because they tend to be aimed at children more often than not, but they also need to fit within budgetary constraints, and animated movies can cost quite a bit. With all of that in mind, the 2019 version is a whole 30 minutes longer than the 1994 version. This is just an example of the type of money that Disney now has at their disposal. The animated film obviously serves as the main inspiration for the 2019 version of the story, but the Broadway show has a huge stylistic influence on the live-action movie. It also inspired casting as well. Two of the actors who cut their teeth, so to speak, by performing in the stage musical appear in this film. The actress who played young Nala, Shahadi Wright Joseph, portrays the same role in the latest version. Florence Kasumba plays Shenzi in a German production of the Lion King stage show and returned to give the character life in the 2019 film. Chiwetel Ejiofor didn't play the role of Scar before, but it seems like he's born to voice this character, perfectly characterizing the evil lion while turning in a take that differs greatly from Jeremy Irons' 1994 portrayal. Reportedly, Ejiofor's inspiration was approaching Scar's psychology. Whether it was evident in the script or not, Ejiofor told the press that he dug deep into what he believed to be Scar's past, so that the character seemed to be coming from a real place of anger and resentment when striking against Mufasa and staking his claim as leader of the Pride. With the perfect cast, some of you might be wondering what brought Favreau to the position of director. Favreau started in independent films and firmly made a name for himself as a director and actor who could make mainstream comedies and action flicks. He spearheaded the MCU by directing Robert Downey Jr. in the first Iron Man film and continues to reprise his role as Happy Hogan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But he really stood out as the ideal person to usher in a new Lion King adaptation thanks to his experience directing Disney's live-action Jungle Book. To top their work in the Jungle Book, Favreau and Disney used as much tech as possible, even employing virtual reality to get what they needed on screen. But the live-action film and even the Broadway production aren't the only time versions of The Lion King diverged from the original 1994 film. Actually, the 2002 re-release of the animated 1994 film contained changes that viewers at the time may not have noticed. A title card in memory of a former Disney president was moved from the beginning to the end of the movie. The animation of Rafiki holding young Simba on Pride Rock was changed. The song The Morning Report was added into the re-release. Crocodiles, shadows, and waterfalls were redrawn, and the famous blink and you'll miss it letters, often interpreted to say an inappropriate word, were removed from the film. But did they make it into the live-action movie? We'll need eagle-eyed viewers to find out for us. Hakuna Matata means no worries till the end of your days. And while this video may be at an end, your time here at ScreenRant is far from over. Let us know what you think about this movie, Aladdin, Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, and whatever other live-action remakes may be on Disney's to-do list. We'll still be here talking about more Disney flicks when they do the all-hologram Lion King remake in another 25 years. Stay tuned for that, and more videos like this one. We'll see you around.